Electronically today.
Okay. Be good. 4 minutes after the hour. Good morning. Once again, I got to turn my music down now. And there you go. All right. That's better. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining me here once again in the Breakfast Lounge on this Monday, the 22nd day of January, and also to the viewers on the PFP Facebook page. All right, so I mentioned it earlier this morning that definitely I have the PFP joining me in the studio. So from the opposition benches in Parliament, now part of the coalition of four members to form the new government, along with the DP, URSM, and the Now Party. Let's welcome leader of the PFP party, MP re-elected, Melissa Gumbs. Had a total of 462 votes. And then we have also with us MP Raeyhon Peterson, who has a total of 257 votes. And we are counting. Yes, we are. Hi, good morning, and welcome to both of you. And thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Good morning, Grace. Morning. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Yeah. Boy, you guys been busy, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a whirlwind time after election day, but getting settled into the rhythm of it again and looking forward to what comes coming ahead.
When you look back, MP, at the results of the recent elections, did removing the curtains really make an impact on the results?
Yeah, I've been asked that question a lot, and I think it might have had a small impact, but definitely there are other changes that need to be made based on what I myself witnessed election day. And we always said that, this was a small step towards electoral reform, but definitely more has to come from persons reaching out and telling us that, other parties were approaching them to sell their vote, to us hearing about a business card in Belvedere where you had to call a number before you go in to vote to see, let them know what you need, and you'd be able to, get that before you voted or after you voted for a particular person. I think those things they still need to be addressed in whatever changes can be made, in the coming governing term to improve the transparency and the fairness and integrity of our electoral process.
Right. So it's basically you somewhat stop the monster inside the voting room, but it's now outside.
Yes.
It's outside.
As it always was. And we were always very transparent about that. We knew that it wasn't going to solve everything. And that is why at least it's a step. And now the steps have to continue.
Right. You've maintained your 2 seats in Parliament.
Yes.
Was it more challenging this time to do that in comparison to 2020?
I think most definitely. More parties for one. There was I think 130 people running.
29.
20. Oh yes, up last one right before. I forgot. But I think it was definitely a challenge, and also to the climate that we were running in. It was very overall it was a hostile climate. I think due to various influences, but nevertheless we still maintained our 2 seats, and we're happy that at least we were able to do that.
How was it for you, MP Peterson?
Well, I think throughout the campaign there was a lot of mudslinging coming from the current council of ministers, and I mean that was to be expected, but it also showed that their vision was lacking and there was more focused on us. And I think the results of the polls show that as well. I mean, the current coalition went from 10 seats that they got last election to a total of 7 this time. And I think that strong message was sent by the people of St. Martin that they have also had enough. So regardless of all the rhetorics and the mudslinging and the stooping below the belt stuff that we are not that we're very familiar with coming from that composition. And I think that that message is something that we need to sit back and relax,
Mhm.
and everybody needs to now at this point humble themselves and understand that the people have given us a mandate, and now it's time to work.
Right.
Yeah.
The rhetorics and the spinning and the bitterness, I get it. A lot of people are butthurt, but guess what? The people still need us to do our job, and
Right.
that's where we're at, to be
Yeah.
honest.
What in your opinion do you think that was lacking in this for the current government, because they're still basically the missionary government, but what is it exactly that people kind of like, not kind of, the voters, a lot of the voters were disgruntled about,
Yes.
that they turned and basically sent a message that they
Yeah.
were dissatisfied with the way how they were governing
Yeah.
the country.
I mean, I think if you look at a claim to transparency, but not really being transparent,
Yeah.
poor communication with
Mhm.
even Parliament. We've spoken about it quite often. I know other opposition MPs have also spoken about it. That you ask questions, you try to go about getting information in the right way, and then you get stonewalled essentially. I think a general frustration over the secrecy. Not everything is a matter of national security, and I think that attempt to appear as if you know what you're doing at a high level, but actually failing to know it at all, it really alienated persons from them. I mean, the outpouring of messages that we have received ever since this coalition announcement,
It's been
in
crazy.
terms of positivity, has been insane.
Mhm.
Persons in the business community, persons in the legal profession, like just a general thank you so much for not moving with the ones that are there right now. And we have to listen to that as well, because that's a message to us also.
Mhm.
I think I even got threatened by someone that said, if I think about farming with them, I ain't voting for you again.
Really?
Understandable.
I have to
yeah.
take these things seriously,
Right.
when persons who have been a loyal supporter, come and say that.
Mhm.
So I think
With
that
them who?
with the current
Okay.
parties,
That's
because
it. And
I
UP.
see a lot of talk that the biggest parties have been left out. Okay, yes, but I think
If you look at the
if
popular
you look at
votes,
and the
this new
sentiment of the
composition
people.
of a new coalition, we enjoy more than, I think, about 2,000 votes more than their current constellation. And that's the thing, for us, it's clear that still, even after elections, it is clear that the people's wishes is not respected. I mean, I saw the prime minister put something on the front page today,
We don't
Um,
talk about that.
and basically this shows that it was never about what the people want, but more about continuing this same trajectory and about what I want. The individualism that they had throughout the campaign, looking at the prime minister herself, her slogan was "She's the one." It cannot get any more individualistic than that. So for us, we listen to the people, and like MP Gum said, right now it's time to work. The amount of support that is coming towards us. Walking here to the interview, a random gentleman stopped me and told me, "Hey, good luck, and keep it up." Okay, well,
Wow.
those are words
Yeah.
of motivation for us, and we're not going to let anything that's coming from the current coalition, soon to be opposition, deter us from any of that.
Right. What something we've noticed during the campaign trail, though, is that a lot of the parties actually copied your formula of success.
You said it, eh? Yeah. Which I guess imitation, or an attempted imitation, is the best form of flattery. But you never quite get it, because it's not natural to you. It's not organic.
And now it shows.
And now it shows. So, but definitely, and again, that I think for people who try to diminish our importance to the political arena, including members of this current coalition, how am I unimportant if you continue to try to emulate us? You
Right.
understand? And I think we are already doing what we set out to do, which is change how politics is done here. And the fact that like you said, a lot of our approach to campaigning, was replicated or attempted to be replicated by them. That's definitely a sign of that shift, of that impact that we're having. So I guess maybe by 2028, they too will maybe do like a hot sauce video or something.
MP Ludmila the Weaver.
She's off island now,
Basically,
yeah.
right.
That's why
She actually a former member of the UP party,
Yeah.
transitioned from that party and came over to the PFP party and did a whole lot better on that party.
Yeah.
Why was that, do you think?
But she said it from the start. She said it. She was like, "I bet you I do better than I did before
Okay.
because persons were not happy with her decision
Mhm.
in the first election."
When she ran with the
Yeah,
the
and
NP
you know,
party.
hey, Ludi, not to speak for her, but I definitely she was very upfront with us about that. She said, you know, even family members they did not want to support her when she was running with the UP parties. So I
Okay.
think that shift too is something that is palpable, and people need to look at those little shifts to see, you know, what is here.
Right. Well, your opinion this morning, like you said, Mr. MP Peterson, that this morning on the front page, the Prime Minister makes the statement of the new coalition of eight may face challenges in aligning their views due to conflicting stances and priorities. How do you respond to that?
I mean, did she align with MPs Brownbill and
I'm
Arundel?
still trying to see where she aligned with current MPs
Yeah.
Brownbill and Arundel because they're supposed to be part of the coalition accord, yet we have never seen that document. So I think that within a day or two, this soon-to-be coalition has put more on paper when it comes to stability than we have enjoyed for the last 4
And I think
years.
you're missing a critical thing, which is in 2020, I think the whole dust up with MP Emmanuel and his former party was that the intention was to form with the USP, of which, Arundel and Brownbill were, and then MP Bonkamper. And it was made very clear that no, we can't form with persons like that. And then along the way they came and, like, you know, two rescue rangers in the night basically joined up to maintain, I guess, stability at all costs. But I think that is also part of the problem when you look at the response of the people towards that
Bearing in
stability.
mind that
Yeah,
those same two persons have approached us in the past
yeah,
Mhm.
after that, them being part of the stability to actually remove some of the ministers. And these
Yeah.
are facts.
yeah.
These are things that you can fact check. So, I
Yeah, so
mean, I get it, but I don't.
I mean, and you know, they made that marriage of convenience work.
Mhm.
You know, somehow they found a way to make it function. So I don't really see this is, I think, the third time that such a thing has been said. We are going to include as well an informateur process to iron out these alignments, to iron out, you know, wishes, desires, pain points, and such, and have those conversations. And it
So
has
you don't
been,
get the situation
yeah,
like last election where within a week or two, one of the MPs decides to leave, and one
Right.
doesn't even sign. I mean,
and I think I want to also, you know, Grace, if you'll permit me. So a lot of the concern, I guess, from the Prime Minister and others related to the camp has been, you know, the specter of, you know, an individual hovering over the Now Party, even though the party leader and MP-elect Mingret have said repeatedly that this person does not have any say in what is happening. That has been the concern. Yes, this person, etc. But who opened the door for that person? Last July, when the Princess of the Congo or whatever was here.
Are we referring to the person in question here is Olivier Arundel?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last July or June at Flavor Academy, it was fine to eat shrimp cocktail with him
and take a picture.
and take a picture. Those pictures didn't make it to social media, but they came out anyway. And that's the thing. I think before we start pitching rocks about who parties and such are associating themselves with, first look at who opened the door.
And who initially approached said candidate we were talking about to actually join the NA, because we can fact check all of these as well.
Yeah.
So hypocrisy is the word of the day, but again, bitterness is what it alludes to my opinion, Grace.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but I think that we are very big fans, especially that party, of creating sort of pit bulls, and then they don't take care with it, and then once they run loose and they start to running loose on them, then is a problem.
And
it's
then we
happened
need to
repeatedly.
take care of them because why? They're worth votes.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess.
and it has happened repeatedly, and I think that persons have to face that reality that when someone is attacking my enemies, it's all fine and dandy, but the minute that they turn their sights on me, then it's problematic. This has not been an issue that popped up just out of the blue. You had persons from this coalition feeding him information. There was voice notes as well that came out. The voice notes that came out yesterday, because that's what everybody's basically harping on about this morning.
Right.
Voice notes between him and MP Emmanuel. I'm not speaking for MP Emmanuel. He can do it just fine tomorrow night on the radio. But to just put a point in that, voice notes in which repeatedly, using very colorful language, MP Emmanuel, as the party leader of the Now, is saying to this person, you do not have any say within this party.
Mhm.
Refuting it. We also had voice notes a couple months ago between the same Mr. Arundel and MP Bryson, where he was telling him, "You're not giving me enough information on your candidate who's a sitting minister of VSR. You're not giving me information on this one, information on that one." So again,
Mhm.
who opened the door to let this element into St. Martin politics? And now, just like everything else, we are gonna have to clean up that mess. That's the reality of it. So once again, you're gonna have a coalition coming in that's gonna have to do an assessment to see what has been done, clean up what has to be cleaned up, and then also deal with this.
Right.
Somebody
right.
that y'all open the door and let in. So you can miss me with it.
But he's somewhat actually putting, not fear, but making it seems like there is some kind of instability in the coalition as it is right
Yeah,
now.
and that's also, I think, coming from them as well. And
Yeah.
all of these articles is also stoking that fear. So, again, my advice is to maybe reflect, take stock, and maybe put some effort into being the kind of opposition that we were, if stability is so important.
Yeah, right. Now, walk us through the formation process. Basically, that the four of these parties actually coming together. URSM, then we had a DP, of course, and also the Now Party. Was it a no-brainer, of course, that you guys decided right after not after all the numbers were in, that you decided, okay, we're going to form this coalition together, keep the National Alliance and keep the UP Party out. That was basically from the onset when you started the campaign, when you were already campaigning, that was already the decision that was taken, or it was after?
The decision wasn't taken per se, but
Uh-huh.
of course we could not speculate as to what the people of St. Martin were going to say. So we could not say, okay, we were going to have 8 seats on this side and
But
7
just
seats on
in
the other.
case, if though.
But the initial plan was for PFP, as I'm beginning to say it a lot. We were gunning for government, and if we look at what's been happening the last 4 years, and if we look at the lack of accountability, what PFP has tried to push in Parliament, the motions that we have tried to push forward, I think that it was logical that the current council of ministers, or actually that PFP, did not align with the current council of ministers.
Mhm.
Why? Basically because, to my opinion, pure corruption, lack of accountability, no good governance, no transparency, no integrity. We've been saying it over and over again, from the Minister of Rome all the way to the Minister of VESA, all the way to the Minister of Education, all the way to the Prime Minister. We have not been silent about it. We have been holding our I would say our opinion for the last 4 years.
Mhm.
And after elections, for us actually, not that it wasn't a no-brainer, but they were not an option. We were not going to entertain the same persons that, like you said, throughout the campaign, Grace, were engaging in a lot of mudslinging, a lot of stooping below the belt, and basically just coming to radio, coming here to this station, and just using this hour to bash on us as PSP, to bash on what we have tried these last 4 years, to bash on us actually trying to bring some accountability to the House of Parliament and to actually government. So our principles initially did not align, and we can clearly see now that they still don't. And I can honestly say that after sitting with the new members of the new coalition, sitting with the Now, sitting with the DP, sitting with the URSM, everybody has the right intention. And I'm not talking about all these outside players that we think have something to say. And I'm talking about the 8 MP elects, the 8 persons who I have personally spoken to these last 2 weeks, and who have shown that they are ready to do this. They are ready to work, and stability is the last issue on our mind, because every time that we hear something, somebody offered a couple $1 million for this one to jump. Somebody offered a couple $100,000 for this one to go independent. We have been hearing so many things these last 2 weeks, and when we check with our soon-to-be colleagues, nothing is coming from their camp. It is all coming from the opposite side. So then the question is it really a concern that that we are going to be a not so stable government, or is it fear mongering?
Yeah.
Is it emotional hijacking? Is it
Once
political
again.
victimization? Once again, coming
Yeah.
from the exact same camp. I went through it as a civil servant. I guess MP-elect Mingret had to go through it as a then cabinet member that they had to leave. And I guess now we're going to see who's next. But this is their way of doing things, and the people have woken up.
The phone's ringing. The phone calls are coming in. Who's answering the calls?
Huh?
Who's answering the calls?
I'm on airplane mode now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, of course,
But they're calling. They're calling.
No, I mean,
yeah, for
well,
sure.
They're calling
texting,
because I
texting
keep
primarily.
I'm hearing that basically from a lot of the other candidates also that they're getting phone calls and then also from members of different political parties who are offered money to actually break the coalition.
Yes,
Yes, that's
all of
what's
that,
happening.
yeah, all of that happens, and it makes me wonder what has been set up that is driving this desperation.
What are they trying to
What are
hide?
you trying
Mhm.
to accomplish actually? What favors
Who
have
do
you
you owe?
promised? Who do you owe to be this gung-ho
Yeah.
and just driven?
What did you take?
Because
and
nobody
what
bothered
promise did you
y'all
make?
after last election. Like,
Yeah.
you announced you were farming, okay. We weren't texting and saying, hey, you could get XYZ
Yeah.
if you just throw PFP in the coalition or whatever. Like that's not how that went down.
And you see, the thing is, Grace, if it were the other way around, we would have had to sit back, smile.
Yeah, because if you were getting
Shake
on
their
like this, it
hand.
would have been
Imagine, yeah. So I mean, it goes to show. I mean, and becomes says a lot. You cannot legislate character, and I think now that the people have spoken, the true characters of some of these
Yes.
players is coming
True
to
nature,
light.
man.
But again, Grace, like I said, delusion is thinking that you cannot lose while you already have lost. So
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Right, the division of portfolios with the PFP and the other candidates. How well did that go? Was it basically like I don't think it would have been like okay, yeah, you got this and I got this. How long did those discussions last or the meetings
I
last
think we were
when it
like
came to the discussion?
10 hours.
division?
Well,
Really?
I mean, to be honest, Grace, I think the fact that we are going to now into an informative process, I think that
Mhm.
that is actually where these discussions actually are going to be anchored. Of course, we have our wishes as political parties, and again, the accord that we have signed needs to be respected. But in the informative process is where you go through the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
When you go into the okay, but then how we're going to work together when it comes to
Yes.
these
Mhm.
ministries, so we don't work in silos,
Like it's
etc.
been, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and because that's what it's about. We to deal up the portfolios is nice, but that's the old way of doing things. We, as a new coalition, we have actively decided to hold one head when it comes to joint projects. If another party has the Ministry of Justice or of ASR, for example,
Mhm.
and we have, for example, the Ministry of Romi, and there needs to be a joint venture when it comes to, for example, something that goes on with GB. GB is water, falls under VSR, electricity falls under Romi. That is a joint venture by definition, and we need to understand that this silo behavior that we've had with these ministers, which we have right now, the Minister of Rome is his own island, the Minister of VSI is his own island, and that's what we have right now. That is what we are going to change
Yeah.
because that is what's necessary. And to look at it like you said, Grace, as the dealing up of the cake, we see it more as okay, this is a task, and this is your role when it comes to this task.
Yeah.
But we all have the same vision.
Why is it that people are always so bent? And I know from 10 we've had governments that actually didn't last too long. It was after a year, and then we kept having election after election. We just had a government that sat there for 4 years. Why are people so bent on that every time that hey, the election, we don't like who got elected, we're gonna throw it out. Because it's not just from party members that you get that, but also from the outside
Yes.
forces. Why
No,
is
but
that?
I
Because this is something that you don't regularly see in other countries. I don't see it in Aruba and Curacao.
No.
And people are so like, oh yeah, let me throw down the government. Why?
Yeah.
Why are we always why is it that people always want to throw down the government? and say,
again, it goes back to the question of, well, who do you owe? We are dealing with the involvement of people in our political process, that decisions that were taken 25, 30, 35 years ago. Persons that have been brought in, whether they are foreign investors, whether local investors, and you make people feel like they have a say in how things go just because they bought a couple posters or so. But that is not, you have to set that boundary from the beginning.
Yeah.
That, thanks for the support, but it does not guarantee anything is going to go only in your favor. I know that there are persons that are probably very nervous that, MP Peterson is going to go under the screening for the Ministry of Rami.
Mhm.
But, they should be, I think, because there are ways to do things and there are ways to not do things. And we've just seen the same incorrect, and we're talking from since Island Council days, you understand? And many persons have not been able to haul themselves out of that mentality where they very much function like we back in the days of the Netherlands Antilles. And it's not a way to move anything forward.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think that if you look at what we've said for the last 4 years, Grace, they should be worried because we have been hammering on accountability, on integrity and on good governance. And guess what? The moment we do get into it, that is what we are going to do. And accountability, that means that you also have to hold whoever was before you accountable for their actions. Hold them accountable. Don't just bring out the facts and let the people know what they did. No, hold them accountable for it, because that is what you need to do as a minister. That's what you need to do as a government. So yeah, I honestly I can agree with what MP Gum said, but it also shows that it's not really for the people of St. Martin that we're getting all this kickback. Is basically to save themselves. I can tell you right now that a very questionable building permit has been signed within the last week, and this is to show you that we know. And when the time comes, everybody will be held accountable. But again, we respect the process. We're in the informative process at the moment. We do things right. We don't rush things, because
Mhm.
we're not going to do what we said in the past that was wrong. But again, we're going to lead by example also. So I encourage people to watch out
Yeah.
and see what's going to happen, because this fear, this everybody kicking up and throwing stones and
Fear
rocks all over the
mongering.
place, yeah, it's probably for a good reason. So let's find out.
Like MP Gumbs just mentioned about your appointment of becoming the next minister of Romi. If true, once in office, MP, what would be your top priority once you get in there?
My
Because
top,
you
yeah.
know the ins and outs of the
Mhm.
of that ministry.
No, most definitely. And I think that anybody that wants to take up the role to head a ministry, they need to really, really do their due diligence. And with
Yeah.
that, I mean, first of all, get to know the departments, get to know how the system works, get to know the staff bureau, get to know the policy department, get to know what the dynamic is between the civil servants and the cabinet, get to know the staff. Get to know the people in the ministry, because they are the machine. You know, we like to talk about the civil servants. We like to use them as scapegoats every now and then by putting them forward and making it seem as if we are fighting for them. But I am currently a civil servant on a leave of absence. That's where I come from.
Mhm.
And when it comes to the Ministry of Romi, it is so vast, it is so big that you cannot just come in with a 100-day plan and say, yes, we're going to fix this, we're going to fix this. No, you would need that plan for every department. So I would say, for example, when we're looking at the Department of Domain Affairs, what would I do within the first couple of months? What the PFP do is work on the backlog, work on the little small changes, and not focus on issuing land to my brother or significant other within my first 2 months of tenure, or ask a colleague minister to sign off on land for my brother within my first 6 months of tenure,
Yeah.
because that is what I want to do as a minister of Romi. That is not what we're here for. The same with the permits department. We have a backlog. It's crazy what the backlog is now with the permits department. But big permits, questionable permits, do get prioritized.
Mhm.
Those things are going to come to light.
Right.
The little man who has his roof over
Yep.
in the region that needs to get his building permit, he's going to be prioritized the same way as that big development that they have going on in Kupukoi. These are going to be the issues that
Yeah.
maybe some people are not going to like, but it's going to happen. We are going to level the playing field, balance it out, and do it right. We are going to be held accountable for our actions. We're going to have integrity once we execute. And that is what we are going to promise. And I think that after we set the tone, I encourage everybody to do the exact same thing. Stop thinking about yourself when you're becoming a minister, because it is not you that they're praising. They are praising the job that you need to do. So get in line and do your job.
Yeah.
What about over the bank that land situation there?
Mhm. That is also something that we now have to look into, because guess what? The
Can it be
current minister,
reversed?
it's not that easy anymore, because the current minister decided, when the ombudsman started a report on the over the bank issue, that he is going to take it to court,
Yeah.
because that in the law would basically stop her
Her
in
investigation,
her
yeah.
investigation. It's very tactical, I get it, but I would actually try to retract said court case and let the ombudsman finish her report. Let's respect the High Council of State. Let's see what her conclusion is into this whole thing, and then let's see if, based off of that, our High Council of State, let's see what Parliament then can do in regards to holding the people who have put us in a situation accountable, because that's what it's about. It's not about who comes in and fixes it and who finally gets over the bank done. No, it's about who messed it up, how messed up is it at the moment, and what's now actually the best solution for the land, because we can also go look at everybody that was promised a piece of dirt, and then we're going to have a list of 200 people that all want a little piece of land.
Right.
Or are we going to sit back and now and come up with a real plan for St. Martin that doesn't involve us giving a certain piece to individuals in the community just because they know us and they're our
SG, the SG Lewis Brown, would you?
right now. The court case says that he either has I think he's allowed to come back as SG,
Yeah.
or there was an option to pay him out or whatever. Those things still need to be discussed. But yes, of course, I think that Lewis Brown would definitely have to be involved in Promi if we want Promi to move forward. But again, we do have to also respect the process. Maybe in the time that he was not SG anymore, maybe they started the interview process and maybe somebody else is coming in throughout the regular procedure. So we have to also look at those things and then come to an assessment, because you don't want to be unfair against anybody else, but you also want to be fair for Mr. Brown. So yes, definitely, I think that he should be part of the new Vromi after the current regime is out, and I think that that's actually going to have a lot of added value and a lot of experience that they decided in the beginning that they did not want to be part of, I guess. So no, a good question when it comes to that. People who have been paying attention to Vromi know that Lewis Brown has been, an active SG and one of the biggest role players in the ministry. And what he went through this last term with the current minister, given everything that's going on around it, I think that it's bittersweet that he now gets to come back to his staff. That he built that ministry. He was the first SG there, and I think that it's good. It's good to come home.
What the question mark that's hanging over your head though regarding the screening? What exactly is that people are asking if you pass the screening?
Oh, I think that has to do with I remember in 2018 I had a car accident, in which after a case of police brutality, they ended up putting me and my dad in jail for I think 4 days.
4 days.
Wow.
Okay. And we took it to court. We appealed the first judgment and we won the case. When my dad got acquitted, we specifically made sure that we don't get any records. So I think that's the only thing that people remember the accident and to go in jail, but they don't remember the fact that it took us about 3 to 4 years after that. We went to appeal just to get that off our record because we were wrongfully. It was a case of police brutality. And the video is online as well. You can check my Facebook, because when it happened, when we got our acquittal in 2021, we put the whole case online for everybody to see, because of course PFP is about transparency, and I think that that's the only thing that they were talking about. But again, PFP having anticipated that would be an issue, PFP supported me in my court case. Then in the appeals court, I won the case. So therefore there is no issue for when it comes to the screening. But that's a good question, because you do need to be transparent with the people as well. If it seems like a cloud is hanging over your head, then be honest about it. Be honest about it, because if it starts raining, then it's too late. So yeah, just be honest with the people, and this is what you see, this is what you get.
Right. MP Gumbs, who are the candidates that are considered besides MP Peterson here that will be considered for our next ministerial position?
I think the only one I know for sure is Dr. Marcelina as Prime Minister.
But in your no.
If I can't think of anybody better for Rami.
Right.
To be honest with you, I think when you're looking for someone that has the legal knowledge of how the ministry works, that has been in the ministry, that has the relationship already with the persons in there, and that has been, consistently talking about what needs to happen, the things that we have been championing, whether it's the land policy, proper spatial development, planning, clearing, permits for people who live here rather than persons who just make money here for whatever reason. I think that it became very clear, and we even used to joke about it, that Raeyhon would be like the first person to go up and to fix what needs to be fixed in that ministry.
Right.
Because there is a lot that can be done. And from the time that we met, that he joined PFP, hearing about what he was working on as the head of domain, the things that he was trying to do that were actually going to make the country money, and then getting stopped in his tracks by whomever. Now he has the opportunity to actually execute those things. So I think that there could be no other selection. Someone oddly asked me if I was going up to be minister, and I was like, "Oh, Rami, with him right here? You nuts? No, absolutely not." And I have every confidence in him that he will get it done, and he will hold who has to be held accountable, and he's ready for that smoke from Parliament as well, if need be. I think
So get ready to call me in, guys. You won't have to wait 2 weeks for answers. I'll answer you on the spot.
Oh wow.
But yeah.
What are the other positions, actually, portfolios that were assigned to the PFP party?
As Minister of Rami Ray would also be Deputy Prime Minister, and we also have the Minister Plenipotentiary,
Okay, so
which is the post in the Netherlands.
Okay, so any names that you want to throw out?
I mean,
there
I will
this
be,
way?
diplomat.
We have the
Mr. Gumbs.
We got the best diplomat in Ireland,
Patrice.
who had a very big added value to why the current
Yes,
Prime
actually,
Minister's cabinet is.
I think that the action and activity that you've seen coming from the foreign relations perspective is 99.99% due to Patrice. He is often the cooler head that prevails. Because sometimes I myself have a reaction.
Even amongst us.
Yeah, even amongst us. And Patrice is like, no, guys, really have to take it as it comes from.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he lets us bask in his knowledge. Thank you, Patrice.
Yeah. So he's up to. Is he taking
Yes.
the task?
I believe he's still kind of working it out for himself. It is a big thing to do. It is a move, to the Netherlands. But I think that when called, he's definitely the person that's going to do his duty.
What does that task actually entail? Because you hear some people say, "Oh, you just sit in an office all day."
No, I think that Minister Plenipotentiary has not been utilized to its full potential.
Yeah.
There's a lot that can be done with the position. You are not just meant to wait to be a mouthpiece. There's a lot of dynamic interaction that is possible, not just with our students every once in a while, but with other members of the Saman diaspora, whether it's professionals, etc., with other persons from the Dutch political arena, and other arenas that we may need to also be involved in, on a higher level.
Yeah, and I think that what we have done this time around is also again a first in history where the Minister Plenipotentiary is not officially falling under the party that has the prime ministers before you. And that has always been the misconception of, if you're Chefmin, then you need to just follow the prime minister. No, as Chefmin, you have your own due diligence as well. You have your own duty as well. If you look at the Kingdom Charter, the Chefmin is mentioned many times. And in some articles, he's mentioned and not the prime minister. Why? Because they tend for the Chefmin to also have its own responsibility. Of course, responsibility ultimately lies with the prime minister, but he is there. He is in Holland. Right. So to be in tune with what goes, whole idea of you just fall under the prime minister. For the first time in history, I think that we have separated that, where we can all now join and work together. That we have Patrice as Chefmin, and still we have Mr. Michelina as the prime minister. But still, that dynamic and that collaboration is possible, and and it's respected from both sides. And I think that we once again set a first for history, and I think that this trend is also going to be followed.
Yeah. He commands basically 4 languages, I believe: English, French, Dutch,
broken English.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, it's I believe he's looking forward to it, but when it comes out, I guess you'll have to have him in here to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll have to bring him back here.
Yeah.
You will be up against, now you're on the other side of the fence now, because you're not in the opposition benches anymore. You're going to be up against some fierce opposition. You got 3 on the NA who are former ministers and 1 in the UP.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. How prepared are you?
Who is
Very
fierce?
prepared.
Who's fierce?
Because they're coming at you.
Oh no!
They're coming at you.
I encourage them to come at me twice as hard as I came at them.
Yeah.
And I do want to see the results of that, because up to now I still have a bunch of unanswered questions from the Minister of Romi that I still haven't received. And so, I mean, let's see who really sets the standard. Because again, come correct, guys. Because if you're going to talk about the ministry, you better come correct. You better break
and
those laws.
I'm curious to see how long it's going to take for a very vaguely worded, very personal ordinance when they walk into Parliament. Motion of no confidence is going to come in an attempt.
And we're ready for it.
And we're ready for it. This is nothing about these people is original or unique or innovative. It has all been seen before, and I think that we've already had these talks with ourselves, with our coalition partners, where we said, look, be prepared, because the way that it has been since the announcement came out, it already shows me what it's going to be like. It's going to go back to the same type of combative for no reason opposition, the type of opposition that we set out not to be, for the sole purpose of you ask for stability, you have it. Well, we're asking the same. Let's see if we'll get it.
Yeah. So let's not be hypocrites. How did we end up with a motion of no confidence against the minister of Rumi this time around?
Oh, it was a
Big Gum.
process.
It was a process. He did wrong. The ombudsman said he did wrong.
Yeah.
The ombudsman came with a report. We decided when the questionable wrongdoings came about, we said, you know what, motion of disapproval. Let's give the minister a chance. Let's just hold him accountable for his actions. Then the ombudsman had to step in and say, guys, this minister is basically corrupt. Only then did we decide, okay, this is enough ammunition from opposition to say, no, come on, minister, you have done enough. You can't be held accountable for this anymore. You need to get off the seat. So I would love the exact same treatment. I would love to for them to hold us together and exactly, but hold us together as well, because every time they say that they've been a stable government for the last 4 years, and Begums always tells them, you're welcome, because the amount of times that they have offered us to drop this government for whatever reason, like you said in the beginning of this interview, Grace, we have said no, because it's a choice.
Right.
If you want instability for my country, I am not the MP to come knocking on his door. And if they can give this country now the same 4 years that we gave them, then I think we're going to be very far along in 4 years.
Right.
And I think people have to look as well as to how it's going to go from the opposition benches this term coming forward, because you'll only justify what they've done to you by taking away those seats.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Right.
So but that's in their hands. That's not my concern. My concern is the new coalition, and that is it. That's something that they're gonna have to face for themselves and decide what type of opposition they would like to be. Because it's not very stately behavior if you're going to suddenly revert back to what the type of opposition you were in 2018 when you started working on toppling the Leona Malin government.
So I hope that we get the support of the opposition when it comes to this new budget that we need to pass for this country to move forward. I hope
it's their
that,
budget, to be honest.
And no, exactly, but I hope that when it comes to all of these unpopular decisions now, that they also are going to vote yes.
Yeah,
like we have done
twice,
like we have put on record. So again, I am curious to see how what the dynamic is going to be, Grace. But one thing I can tell you is PFP is more than ready for this challenge.
The when we're talking budget here, we have amount of loans and debt. The country is basically in debt, financial debt.
Broke.
Basically, how does this new coalition intend to approach that? Because as you see now, that over the past, I think it's how many days since the Netherlands have not even come to forming a government yet. But
still gonna take a while.
It probably might take a while. You saw that video I sent you the other day. So, but let's talk about getting St. Martin now out of debt. How do you all intend to do that?
Yeah, these are
attracting investors.
I think firstly it's to discover what the real status is, because it came down to a point over these last 3 months leading up to postulation day and election day, Grace, where I remember remarking to some of my opposition colleagues that I don't trust the information that I get from this government. And I've even said it here, where, is it, because it's a very sugarcoating government. And I prefer to be very honest with people and just, be upfront. I've told a story before where in 2020, it was very much we could open in July and recoup some money. And I'm like, that's not how any of this works. July 2020, I with a global pandemic raging, and somebody stopped me one day on the way to Parliament and they were like, MP, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And they said, do you think that it's going to be like they say, that we're going to be out of this by the end of the year? I said, absolutely not. I said, it's going to be at least till 2021, 2022, maybe even later before we start to see, true economic recovery. Because again, nightclubs being full does not mean that the economy has recovered. That's the reality of it. And the person looked at me and said, oh, but the government said, I said, I know what they said, but I'm telling you the truth. Like, I have no need to, tell you a comforting lie. And they stopped and they said, okay, thank you. I said, you're welcome. But that is the you have to, as a leader, it's not just about, pretending that everything is cook and egg. It's about telling people, no, this is where we are. And this is what we hope to be able to accomplish to get us a little further.
Right.
And those are discussions that we're definitely going to be having. The Democratic Party holds the portfolio for the Ministry of Finance, as well as the Ministry of TEAC. There are opportunities to make money, to do things differently, to actually see, tax reform occur, to stimulate the private sector and such, to remind people that, the private sector is forward.
Correct. Right.
They've put it on their backs many times with very little type of quote unquote reward. And there has to come a time where their contribution is acknowledged. That is what drives everything forward. But those are going to form part of the ongoing discussions and talks as we formulate our own governing accord.
Right. The current government couldn't get it done, completed basically the airport. How do you guys intend to basically get this job done, speed up the process of completing the airport?
I think the airport project, first of all, government is not project manager for the airport. I think the issues at the airport are, first of all, a result of, like we said before, political interference.
meddling, yeah.
When it came to the financing, I remind people constantly that the airport only started getting put under construction in 2022. This financing was signed off October 2021. The same financing, I got to remind people that everybody, including this current government, were questioning in Parliament. I have the clips. That's the thing. We have the clips of Parliament meetings where it was, well, was there any alternative financing, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is interference and meddling by people who didn't want to see what happened. And so the same financing got signed off with a big smile in Brussels with the European Investment Bank. And, then it could actually start to fall under construction.
Right.
And I remind people of that every step of the way, because our memory here politically is very short. But it's time that we start putting these things out there repeatedly to say, oh, no, that's actually what happened. So I think an assessment of where things are at, because again, I don't trust most of the information we've gotten over the last, I would say 5-6 months. So an assessment of where it's actually at, debriefing maybe is even needed by the NRPP to see, what the status is of various projects. My big concern is the library. Because a country without a library, with literacy rates that are plummeting, the concerns in education, all of that is also part of, where are we going to be 15 years from now? So those are the questions that need to be asked, and we will get the answers directly when need be.
Let's talk about transparency, because once you get in there, you have access to all these documents.
Yep.
Will you be bringing them forward to the population to know exactly what was true and what was not true?
Most definitely. I think that throughout campaign, enough, I would say, incorrect statements have been made. Not only when it comes to roaming, but with other ministries as well. And that's also part of accountability, Grace. To show the people the truth. Let the people decide for themselves. Once you show them the documents, let them read it for themselves. Don't tell them that this document says that this person did this.
Yeah.
No, let them read for themselves, And I think that once we go down that road, it is going to have a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to VROMI, and that's going to break out everywhere. It's going to go into education, it's going to go into VSR. So yeah, I'm excited to be honest, because everything needs to come to light. That is part of transparency. All wrongdoings. Of course, you can praise yourself for every project that you do. That's fine. But every time you mess up, you also need to tell the people, listen, guys, I messed up. This is where I'm holding myself accountable, and this is how I'm going to fix it. That's what people want from you as a minister. What people don't want is you to be wrong and strong.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's been the rhetoric this whole term, wrong and strong. Not only from the current minister of Romy, but from everybody. If anybody contradicts me, oh my God, it's because you don't want progress. What? My job is to hold you accountable. Therefore, I encourage the new opposition MPs to hold me accountable to the same level that we did this last term. And I can assure you that PFP will answer you on time. We won't disrespect the ombudsman. We won't disrespect the floor of Parliament. But furthermore, we won't disrespect the people.
Right. You see this morning also, over the weekend, where the leader of the UP party has stepped down, and now the deputy leader, Minister Otley, has taken over that position. The UP party, he fared miserably in the last election. What do you think was, basically, in your opinion, what was the cause of that, though?
The candidates on it? I mean,
Yeah. I would say.
But the individual himself.
I think it was more the candidates on the list.
Yeah.
I think once again we talk about
So you
opening.
punish the leader of
Well,
the leader of the party.
we
who's
talk
okay.
about,
He
yeah,
is
in a way
responsible.
we talk about opening doors and letting wolves into the hen house,
And that's what
and
happened.
that's essentially what happened. I
Mhm.
think it cannot be negated, the because again I found it really, for me, I was astounded that you have someone that has spoken maybe a grand total of 6.5 minutes over the last 4 years. But I think that the in the end of the day, it's also again, what do you choose to put around you? That is going to have an impact on even your results, because persons, it's kind of like, you look at what MP De Weaver said, what we said earlier. People did not want to support me because of the party I was on.
Mhm.
Well, maybe persons decided not to support him because of the people that he put on his party.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Now you have eight candidates, four political parties forming a coalition. Views, alignment of views in
Mhm.
these parties. How well is that? Basically, now I know you MP, along with the MP of the Now Party, MP Gumbs, along with the Now Party, you guys were lawyers head about the U.S. clearance.
Yeah.
You declare that
No, I think that that's something that can only be cleared by the U.S. State Department. I think
Right.
certain things, as much as you say it, whether because even the existing coalition parties also hammer
but the
on about it.
relationship between
Yeah,
you and
no, the
him,
relationship I think is fine. I think
between you and the
yeah.
leader of the Now Party.
It's
Yeah,
way
yeah.
better than it
it's
was
way
when
better
we
than it was
started.
when we
So
first
you
started.
you all have hashed it out.
No, no,
basically.
no.
Yeah.
I can jump if I may jump in
Sure.
on this. I think that the elephant in the room when we got elected last time was the
Yeah.
fact that me and MP Manuel had a very
Tumultuous.
public
Right.
disagreement over certain topics when it comes to Rome, and I can honestly say that all of that is behind us.
Yeah.
We actually called each other the day of elections, congratulated each other on the fact that we are going to work together, and I also understood from his own candidates that he has shown with that example to them how maturity is possible and how people who you expected to be against you, but because you didn't know them, eventually turn out to be your partners in a common vision. And I think that that's where we are with the Now Party, and especially with MP Manuel. I'm speaking for myself personally, and yeah, we're gonna prove it. We're gonna
Yeah.
prove it by walking the walk instead of talking the talk.
The electorate, we're talking 1,700 and basically 1,717 people put their faith and their trust in you, and the island I mean, when you add up the others, basically we're looking at a coalition here that the people is strongly depending on to bring a change. That's
Yeah.
what they wanted. They voted for change.
Mhm.
What is it about people can really depend on you? People, your hands is actually your lives, so to speak, or people are depending on
Yeah.
you right now. How much can we actually say that you can make it happen? You can hold it together for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think, Grace, we have repeatedly said that whether we're in opposition, whether we are in coalition, we are representation for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Article 44.
We have to praise government when they do right, and we have to hold them accountable when they do wrong, whether you're in opposition or whether you're in coalition. And I think it's even more important to do so when you're in coalition.
Yeah.
Because when you have persons, I think what people can expect is for us to continue to behave in much the same way that we have been, pushing for answers for the people, addressing their concerns on the floor of parliament. Again, even now to our own ministers, so to speak,
100%.
pushing
100%.
for accountability of what happened in the past and what is happening from here on out.
Mhm.
Because it's one thing to say, well, we met a mess, and it's another to not try to clean that mess up entirely and hold those persons accountable. You understand? For whatever has occurred, someone was at fault. And I think the hesitation of holding them accountable, and people like to say, today for me, tomorrow for you. No, it's today for me, tomorrow for you, only if I'm doing what you're doing. And
Exactly.
since we have no intention to be doing what they're doing, we can definitely hold them accountable.
Right.
And I think that is what people can expect and what they've come to expect. Very just blunt communication and honest truths and transparency. And that's not going to stop because now we have to massage egos in a coalition.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the key word for the day remains accountability, because again, if me as a minister, God forbid, got a report from the ombudsman basically stating that I was corrupt, trust me, it would not take Parliament to have to motion me out. I will
Mhm.
resign.
Right.
I've said it publicly before I got elected last time when we had an interview on, I think it was the
Yeah.
Andrew Dick show. We, as characters in this field, we are supposed to have a certain standard. The law expects or assumes that
Yes.
we, as the persons put in these positions, have a certain character. So accountability needs to come with that character. Good governance needs to come with that character. Transparency and integrity, it needs to come with that. So you, as much as you're willing to come up and say, I am willing to be the minister, you should be willing to say, well, based on my actions, I messed up and I need to
Mhm.
resign because it's not what the people deserve. It's not the representation that I want to give the people. They deserve somebody better to do it right and to fix what I did wrong. If you're not ready to put yourself in that limelight and look yourself in the mirror, then don't be a minister because my own party is ready to kick me out if I do wrong.
And I think, if we want to start holding ourselves up to examples, nobody likes the example of the Netherlands, where you had the Toeslagen affair and you had a whole cabinet resign, even though they were not the ones that were there when it was caused.
Yeah.
But then, if you want to look closer, reshuffles of cabinets happen in Barbados, etc., all the time when
True.
ministers are either underperforming or not performing
Mhm.
properly or doing something that is questionable and impacts the overall functioning of the government in the country. That happens with very little fanfare.
Do you intend
So
to do that?
yeah, that is a level of political maturity that
Mhm.
maybe others have not achieved. But I think from what we have tried to emulate and the standards we've tried to set for ourselves as a party, that's definitely something that we will continue on even in this current relationship. I can tell you, like in the first discussion, we said anything starts to go like what we were seeing happening over these last 4 years. I
Yep.
said that.
Right.
I said,
Right.
and I will tell people
Mhm.
I don't have any reason to be secretive about why something is happening. And I think that is what people have come to expect from PFP and what they can continue to expect.
And also, Grace, to also jump on that note, the other parties have the exact same intention. I can honestly tell you that by sitting with those parties in, a room these last couple of days, you would be about it in Parliament, but don't think that the URSM and the newcomers to the political field are actually newcomers. No, 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 no,
Mhm.
no.
Right.
MP Emmanuel is very opinionated, and trust me, the moment I, as Minister of Romi, swear in, he is going to be the first MP to call a meeting with me because he has some questions,
Right.
and I will have the answers.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has his work cut out for him. Of course, one of the things is that again, like we said, what's been happening over the weekend, especially yesterday, to basically try and
Yeah.
turn off that
Yeah.
noise.
yeah, and I think the fact that it is not the MP elects that are causing any of the noise for us is very comforting because it shows us that what we set out to do from day one
Mhm.
up to now, everybody has been holding themselves to the agreement. And like I said yesterday, we spoke to all the MP elects, and everything is solid, regardless of what I think it was going on Facebook happening
Yeah.
Right.
while we were all sitting together, like guys, look at what we're allegedly
Wow.
doing.
So it was popping up.
It was
Yeah.
popping up, and we were together, the whole of us. And I think that the behind the scenes showed us that
McLean Greg was also in the
Yeah.
yes, yeah, he was there,
Okay.
of
Okay.
course, yes, of course, he was definitely there. Him and MP Emmanuel.
And we're there updating Ludi on WhatsApp because
Right.
even though she's
She's
off
off
island,
island,
at the
she-
end of the
she's part
day,
of it,
you're
yeah.
still I have to keep you informed.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it went. So while I understand everybody's panic,
Mhm.
and some people are rejoicing, it is nice,
Well, certain
but
people that are
I mean,
obviously,
some very specific people are rejoicing, but by the end of the day, the instability that they're trying to portray, it is not there, and even if it was, that would not be in the benefit of the country.
Right.
So let's get our heads in gear, guys, and let's actually do what needs to be done.
Mhm. Move the country forward.
Move the country
And,
forward.
and more importantly, again, like I said, the electorate is depending on this coalition of four to actually to keep the government at least to sit for the next 4 years.
100%. And I think that we can do it, Grace. Why? Because we are coming out of a situation with four. We had the NA, we had the UP, we had Mr. USP, who was not part of the USP, and we had an independent member of parliament, which is also a four-sided coalition.
Yes,
So
actually.
everybody's talking about instability and instability. Well, we are coming from the exact same composition. The only difference is we actually have an accord with 8 signatures to show for it. So you can hold us accountable for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's actually the only difference between us and the current
Basically.
coalition that is so stable. Again, you're welcome.
Yeah. And it's not only say Martin, but something something people need to pay attention to also is that with all this camaraderie, everything that's going on social media, seeing that we just recently had an election, that the world is also watching.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
so very important because we are known for the instability that we've seen in government
Mhm.
since 10-10-10.
Yes.
Now you had recent government sat there for 4 years. Now we hope now that we've learned how we could do it for the next 4 years, that we can indeed keep
Yeah.
the government together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've shown it.
Exactly.
We've led by example. So now I encourage the new opposition bench to also follow that. Give
Mhm.
us the stability that you guys have been talking about
Yeah.
from now, because it's not only if you're in coalition means you want stability. No, we want stability also as opposition members.
Exactly.
And I think that is something that I want to give to the incoming opposition
And I
members.
hope they copy that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that you said that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for coming
Thank
in
you,
this
Grace.
morning.
Thank you for
Hearing
having
from both MPs, the leader of the PFP party, Melissa Gumbs, and MP Raeyhon Peterson, that the coalition is stable and they're ready to work once they have passed the screening, everything else, and we're ready. You'll be climbing up those steps again on February, to be exact.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
For the swearing of
For
Parliament.
the swearing in of Parliament. Well, that's gonna do it for this morning. Any parting words you'd like to share with the radio listeners, MPs?
No, I think just for persons to be vigilant about where you're getting something and think critically about why. Why would this be said? What is the push? To strangle a baby that hasn't even left the cradle as yet. And I think that persons already started kind of waking up to the reality of our political situation last year, the year before with this current government. So I think that they will see through the smoke screen, through the bluster and through the bitterness and come out wise on the other end. So just to remain vigilant about that. And yeah, we're looking forward to having this opportunity now to put in the work again for another 4 years.
MP Peterson?
I don't really have too much to say. I'm excited for what's to come. I think that PFP now has their more than their foot in the door, and I am just excited for the party to be able to show what we can do and how we can actually do this right in the right way with transparency, integrity, and most of all, good governance.
Yeah.
Have you taken the opportunity to thank your supporters also?
Oh yes, and we thank them on social media, I believe. But also, I would be remiss if I left without saying thank you to them as well. At the end of the day, we did grow in votes in the total amount of votes that we got. So I have to thank the ones who returned to us and the ones that came to us this time around. And welcome to them, and also that the updates and such that they became so accustomed to during the campaign is not going to go away. So
They'll still be there.
I know that the
Alright.
team still has some plans for that in terms of how we reach out and engage with the community.
All right, thank you. And thanks to you also, radio listeners, for tuning in this morning here to the Breakfast Lounge, of course. And my guest, once again, leader of the PFP party, MP Melissa Gumbs, along with her,